Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a pretty wild story, all about how our brains manage to agree on things. And, get this, we're going to use a very special instruction manual, one made of Legos.
All right, let's just start with a number. Take a look at this for a sec. 225.
Okay, so let's really dive in. What if this wasn't just some random number? What if it's actually like a secret code? A code for that one perfect moment when everyone, and I mean everyone, is on the exact same page.
So our whole story kicks off with this idea of a perfect square. And to bring it to life, we've got three, well, let's call them unique characters who are going to guide us through this whole build. All right, so the absolute foundation for everything we're about to talk about is this: a perfect square. I want you to picture a Lego base plate, right? It's 15 studs by 15 studs, and it's completely filled in. 225 blocks, no gaps. That structure, that perfect formation, that's our symbol for total agreement. It's that moment of pure, shared understanding.
Okay, let's meet the crew, our builders. Each one kind of personifies a key piece of reaching consensus. First, you've got Tom. He's our logical guy, the engineer. He uses a super precise, repeatable blueprint, like infrastructure as code, to build things perfectly every single time. Then we have Demian. Demian brings the feels, the sensitivity, that emotional awareness. And finally, there's Unity. Unity is the perfect square, and its whole job is just to bring everyone together into that complete, solid whole.
All right, let's jump to the next part. We're going to see how these guys put this whole idea of agreement to the ultimate test. And they do it in a pretty special place, a movie theater. So, picture this. Our three builders, Tom, Demian, and Unity. They all gather in this super unique theater. It's got exactly 225 seats, all laid out in a perfect 15 by 15 square. And they're there to watch a short film by, who else? The master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. And this isn't just any movie. It's famous for having this spooky ability to literally sync up people's brains.
And listen, this isn't just some made-up story for our Lego characters. This is real. In a real neuroscience study, this Hitchcock film made the brains of 577 different people, 577, all light up in the exact same way at the exact same moments. That is just an insane level of shared experience. And it's the absolute key to understanding how we get to this thing called consensus.
So the big question is, how does this brain syncing actually work, right? How do we all get the same parts of a story? Well, let's imagine for a second that your brain has its own internal Lego building system, and it's made up of three really important parts.
First up, we've got the event boundary detector. Just think of these as blue Lego blocks. They're basically your brain's chapter markers. So when one scene ends and a new, important one kicks off, like a character stumbles upon a mysterious box, this part of your brain just fires off. It's signaling, hey, pay attention, new scene. Okay, next up, the neural state machine. These are our red blocks. Now this machine is all about the now. It keeps track of what's happening this very second, logically processing all the action in a scene as it unfolds. It's a lot like Tom's precise step-by-step blueprints.
And last but not least, we've got the agreement calculator, our green blocks. And this is Unity's job. It's constantly checking, is everyone on the same page? Is everyone's event boundary detector going off at the same time? Did all 225 people in that theater just gasp together? And if the answer is yes, bam, a little green light flashes. We've got consensus.
Now, here's what's really wild. This internal Lego machinery, it works no matter how old you are. Seriously, the study found that, younger brains might process the movie with these quick, sharp transitions, while older brains do it a bit slower, more smoothly. But, and this is the amazing part, both groups, from 18-year-olds all the way to 88-year-olds, they agreed on the exact same 19 major story events. We all spot the same important moments.
Okay, so we've got all our parts, all our Lego bricks. Now let's see how our characters, Tom, Demian, and Unity, put it all together. How they combine their unique skills to build the ultimate structure of agreement, what we're calling the neural consensus castle. So, Tom, our logical builder, he gets to work. He uses his super precise blueprints to construct the systems. He's basically writing the code for this thing. He creates a consensus maker, that's to make sure everyone's following the script, and a feeling validator to confirm that, everyone is feeling the same way at the same time. He's literally building the technical backbone for this whole shared experience.
And while Tom's doing that, Demian's sensitivity is acting like the castle's master sensor. Get this, his little heart-shaped core literally glows brighter the more people agree.
And when all 225 units are perfectly in sync, his sensor flips to green and something really beautiful happens. His own stress just melts away. And that shows us something so profound, right? That shared understanding, it actually makes us feel safe. It makes us feel less alone.
So building this neural consensus castle, it really needs all these parts working together in perfect harmony. It's a step-by-step process. First, you lay that solid 225-block foundation. Then you build the 19 event walls that actually define the story. Tom's in the control center, managing all the processing. Dimion is amplifying the feeling across the network. And Unity? Unity's on the throne, right at position 225, glowing bright when that perfect shared understanding is finally achieved.
Okay, so what does all this mean? Like, what's the big deal? Why does this perfect square of 225, this Lego castle we've built in our minds, why does it matter so much?
Well, the big takeaway from this whole build is this. Our brains are fundamentally wired to find common ground. It's like we come with these pre-installed event detectors, and they work pretty much the same way in all of us. And that's what lets us agree on the most important parts of a story we share. And that shared understanding, wow, it has such a powerful effect. It's what makes us feel connected, understood, and just not so alone.
And that, right there, is the magic of 225. That's the consensus prescription. It's the proof, really, that even though we're all so different, we process things at different speeds, we have totally different life experiences, deep down, we all share a fundamental blueprint for understanding the world. It's like we're all building from the very same instruction book.
Think about it. Every single time you and your friends gasp at the same shocking twist in a movie, or you all crack up at the exact same joke, that's your own 225 Unity working. That's your brains achieving neural consensus. It's the bedrock of communication. It's the foundation of empathy. And that just leaves us with one final thought to build on. If this is what happens when we hit level 225, what could we achieve if we aim for the next perfect square? What kind of story unfolds at level 256? So today, we're going to dive into something pretty wild. A really strange connection between an ancient number and some cutting-edge discoveries about our brains. We're going to see how a piece of old-school symbolism is now, kind of unbelievably, being proven by neuroscience. And it reveals something huge about how we all agree on reality itself.
Okay, take a look at this number, 225. Just on its own, it probably doesn't mean much, right? But stick with me, because today, this number is the key to everything we're about to unpack.
What if I told you this number could actually prove that we all experience the world in a remarkably similar way? What if it holds a secret about human agreement that scientists can now literally see happening inside our brains?
To get this, we've got to start not in a lab, but with the symbolism of the number itself. We're going to unpack exactly why 225 is known as a perfect square of consent. So mathematically, it's pretty straightforward. A perfect square is just a number you get by multiplying a whole number by itself. In this case, you've got 15 times 15, which gives you 225. A nice, neat, perfect square. But believe me, the story gets a whole lot deeper than that.
And this is where it all clicks into place. In Strong's Hebrew Concordance, which is like a massive index of biblical words, entry number 225 corresponds to the word us. And what does it mean? To give assent, agree, or consent. So for centuries, this perfect number has been symbolically tied to the very idea of agreement, which really makes you wonder, is that just a cool coincidence? Or is it tapping into some fundamental truth about how our minds actually work?
All right, so let's jump from ancient texts straight into a modern science lab. To really test this idea of shared agreement in the brain, researchers needed a way to get a whole bunch of people to experience the exact same thing at the exact same time. And for that, they turned to a true master of controlling an audience's mind, Alfred Hitchcock.
They use this super cool field called neurocinematics, which honestly is the science of watching your brain on movies. It turns out films are the perfect controlled experiment to see how all these different brains react to the exact same story as it unfolds.
And they didn't just pick any old movie. They chose a very specific 8-minute clip from Hitchcock's TV show, Bang, You're Dead. And why this one? Well, because earlier studies had shown this clip acts like a magnet for brain activity. It makes viewers' brains fire in these incredibly similar synchronized patterns. Hitchcock was like an intuitive neuroscientist. He just knew how to get everyone on the same page, or in this case, the same brainwave. So here's the game plan, super simple. First, they got a huge group, 577 people ranging from 18 to 88 years old, to watch that Hitchcock clip. While they were watching, they were all inside an fMRI scanner, which was recording their brain activity. And the whole goal was to hunt for those moments where everyone's brain did the exact same thing at the exact same time, these moments of what they called neural agreement.
Okay, so the stage is set. Hundreds of people have watched the same suspenseful clip, and the scientists have all this brain scan data. So, now for the big question, did they find it? Did they find any real evidence of this neural consensus? Did all those different brains actually agree on what they were seeing?
To figure this out, they relied on something called event segmentation theory. And really, it's a simple idea that you do all the time without even thinking about it. Our brains don't see life as one long blurry video. We automatically chop it up into meaningful chunks or events. It's just like reading a book. You just know when you've reached the end of a chapter and a new one is about to start. And this is how they proved it. It's so cool. They compared two sets of data. On one side, you have people's subjective feeling. They were told to physically press a button whenever they felt a chapter break in the film. On the other side, you have the raw objective fMRI data, which showed these huge shifts in brain activity. And the result? A totally stunning overlap. The exact moments people consciously felt a scene change were the exact same moments their brains were unconsciously shifting gears, all together in perfect unison.
And this agreement wasn't just random. It was happening in a really specific network of brain regions. You can think of these as the brain's consensus hubs. Across all 577 viewers, these areas were lighting up together, working as a team to make the same call at the same time. Okay, that part of the story's done. On to the next part.
But one region was the absolute superstar, the DMPFC. Think of it as your brain's internal library of stories. It holds all our memories and knowledge about how events are supposed to unfold. It's always trying to predict what's going to happen next based on stories it's seen before. And the reason we all agree on where the chapter breaks are? It's because deep down, we're all drawing from a very, very similar human storybook.
As if that wasn't mind-blowing enough, the researchers pushed it even further. You know, if we all have this built-in agreement machine, does it change as we get older?
I mean, they had people in this study from age 18 all the way up to 88. So you gotta wonder, what happens to our shared reality as our brains get older? Does the signal get weaker? Does our agreement start to fade away?
And the answer was just wild. On one hand, yes, our brains do change as we age. The neural scenes become a bit longer, a little less sharp, a process they call temporal dedifferentiation. It's kind of like our perception of time gets just a little bit blurrier. But, and this is the amazing part, our ability to agree on the major plot points, those big chapter breaks in the story, that stays almost perfectly intact for our entire adult lives.
So what does this all mean? Let's just pull the camera back for a second and look at the huge implication here. Because this isn't just about movies. This is about reality itself.
This one quote from the study just says it all. We have a functional consensus regarding the structure of experience. In other words, our brains are not designed to be isolated islands. They are fundamentally wired to find common ground, to see the world not as total chaos, but as a shared story that we can all follow along with.
And that brings us right back to where we started. That ancient, symbolic idea of 225 as a perfect square of consent, it turns out it was way more than just a metaphor. It's a concept that is physically mirrored in our own neurology. The real perfect square of consent wasn't in some ancient text. It was in the synchronized firing of our own brains.
Which leaves us with one last and I think really crucial question. If our brains are literally built to sync up and agree on the stories we're shown, then just how important is the story that we're all watching together right now?